Reinforcements have arrived among the Battle Pass reward vehicles. Time for the regulars to move over. Meet the BZ-58-2 heavy tank and the Kampfpanzer III Projekt 07HK tank destroyer. 2 newcomers available for Battle Pass tokens. The first in line and the first on the front line is the Tier 9 Chinese BZ-58-2 heavy tank. It's a comfortable heavy tank that doesn't claim to be the best, and you'll realize that as soon as you move. The BZ has a classic top speed for a sturdy heavy tank, 35 kilometers per hour. It gets there quickly and can keep up with its heavy comrades. At the same time, the tank is quite massive and armored by all the cannons of heavy vehicles. The upper glacis has 70 millimeters of armor at an excellent slope. The same is true of the sides. That may not sound particularly strong, but the armor doesn't disappoint on the battlefield. And with its turret, the BZ can easily laugh off any opponent. It's big, cast, and has a practical shape. Speaking of numbers, we get 380 millimeters of effective armor in certain spots. But, as with any classic heavy tank, the BZ has a few classic vulnerabilities. Its lower glacis and 2 cupolas. The former, although huge, is not hard to hide. To do so, find embankments or side scrape. And regarding the cupolas, you'll need to play smart. The easiest option is to move your hull rhythmically so that the enemy can't properly aim at them. Or you can find suitable terrain. The BZ has a pretty good gun depression angle, -8 degrees. When it starts playing on uneven terrain, the enemy might not even discover that its turret has weak spots. In other situations, when the cupolas are visible, opponents will need to aim at them carefully, which plays into the BZ's hands. While they're aiming, the BZ bites. And it bites hard and constantly. The 130mm gun literally cuts 520 hit points off the enemy. It gets especially serious when this tank has all the bells and whistles. In situations where everything favors trading hit points, the BZ can easily do so. That's due not only to its alpha damage, but also to its hit points, of which it has plenty, not to stay at the rear, but fight the opponents head-on. The most important thing in such duels is to penetrate. Just lobbing a shell at the enemy is not an option, and penetration might not be enough. You always need to aim. This is where the BZ's greatest accuracy will help. Its value is good, even without the crew and consumables. When you add all the necessities, it gets even better. You should equip this tank in a way that highlights its advantages. For example, improved hardening in its respective slot to survive on the front line, turbocharger to reach positions and roll back swiftly after your shot, and gun rammer in the final slot to cause damage more quickly. In the second configuration, replace turbocharger with vertical stabilizer and shoot comfortably at various targets. Regarding consumables, it's not that straightforward. Repair kit and first aid kit are must-haves, but you better put fire extinguisher in the third slot. The BZ can be set ablaze with just a single shot in its lower glacis, but if you still decide to use improved combat rations, you should first replace hardening with modified configuration, or take care of fire safety with the help of a skill or directive. The BZ-58-2 is a front and center tank. Its place is always on the front line, always in the thick of battle. Due to a number of options for positional play, you'll always be prepared for the unexpected in random battles. That's what the BZ impresses with: simplicity and efficiency. What can be better? Perhaps only the uniqueness of our new tank destroyer. The KPZ-3 Projekt 07HK is a Tier 9 German tank destroyer. Its look is reminiscent of Swedish TDs, and that's the main similarity. We could say that the 2 modes of this German TD also count, but how they work is more similar to its counterpart, the Kunstpanzer. And this means that the most interesting things are hidden under its hood. The first mode is travel mode. In this mode, the Kampfpanzer has almost no gun depression, average accuracy, and a poor aiming time. Among the advantages, however, are excellent mobility and the highest damage per minute among all Tier 9 tank destroyers, except for the British Tortoise. At first glance, you might think that the only thing this vehicle is capable of in this mode is rolling around and confusing everyone with its appearance. In reality, the Kampfpanzer has a lot to say. Its mobility in this mode is one of its strong suits. Thanks to this, it can occupy key positions, change flanks, and arrive at positions easily to fire at approaching enemies. But the main strength of this vehicle in travel mode is its ability to strike back. In close combat, you can easily play second fiddle. You just need to wait until your opponents unload at your sturdier allies. Then you roll out and fire several shots. And to ensure your reticle doesn't fly off to the side, lock in on your target with auto-aim. If your insidious opponent is below you and you don't have enough gun depression, use hull rocking to fire. Firing from a distance in travel mode is also possible. The accuracy isn't outstanding, sure, but it gets much better after the correct tuning with dual modifications. Now the Kampfpanzer doesn't seem so harmless, but it's still missing something. And that something can be found in siege mode. To switch modes, use the X key. Now is when this vehicle reveals a drastically different side. Its mobility and damage per minute will decrease, but you'll get pinpoint accuracy, an excellent aiming time, and, most importantly, a gun depression angle of -12 degrees. Thanks to this, the Kampfpanzer can play in positions that it had difficulties with before. Plus, you can use your armor now. The excellent slope of its upper glacis allows the Kampfpanzer to deflect all AP and APCR shells from guns up to 130 millimeters. That means from almost all Tier 9 heavy and medium tanks. All you need to do is cover your lower glacis and roll back after your shot so that the opponent can't aim at your commander's cupola. Yes, mobility is much worse in siege mode than in travel mode, but it's enough for small maneuvers. However, hiding in bushes in siege mode is very enjoyable, especially because the accuracy and concealment values lend themselves to such a playstyle. Additionally, this vehicle's features allow for occupying the most unusual and safe positions. Other TDs will fight for a spot near a rock, but all spots will suit the Kampfpanzer well. These two modes not only give you a choice, but they also allow you to adapt to different combat situations. So don't be afraid to experiment and switch modes when you think DPM is more important in a particular situation than high accuracy, and vice versa. But remember that switching modes takes 3 seconds. During this time, you're the most helpless, so it's important to pick the right moment for a safe switch. But if it so happens that you get spotted in siege mode, for example, it makes sense to try retreating in that same mode. The only things that remain the same in both modes are average damage and penetration. The APCR and heat shells travel quickly and penetrate everything at the same tier. But the HE shells are truly hardcore. 460 HP of damage and 120 millimeters of penetration. Their velocity is also decent, so if you face another paper-thin heavy, don't be shy to remind them of that. Depending on how you're going to play on different maps, you need to think through your equipment choice. Reserve the first slot for gun rammer. You can't do without it. Next, it depends on the situation. If your plan is to support your allies from a distance, you should choose improved aiming and ventilation. If you're spotting, replace ventilation with coated optics. If the map suggests a more aggressive playstyle, the most effective setup will be gun rammer, ventilation, and turbocharger, which will improve mobility in both travel and siege modes. To make the best choice, create 2 sets of equipment and select the one you need before battle with the help of field modification. The Kampfpanzer is not a classic support vehicle, although its efficiency in battle entirely depends on the team's actions. You yourself can choose a style of play thanks to its ability to adjust to any given situation. Of course, you can play an entire battle in one mode, but try to switch a few times at least. your results will be truly impressive, and the battles will be interesting and memorable. The BZ-58-2 is a classic heavy tank. The Kampfpanzer is a vehicle with a fickle nature. Now the choice is yours. You either play in them or against them. Forward to the tokens, commanders.